everybody, welcome to Vermiculture Homestead. Today we're going to talk about composting. Hi guys, so today we chose to talk about composting. It's getting a little late, so hopefully we can get the video done in time. So I want to talk about trash. First, we're going to talk about our indoor trash in our kitchen that we go through daily basis. Why does our trash stink? Our trash stinks because there's a lot of anaerobic material. Hopefully I said that right. But what it is a lot of our produce, our cut up peels, etc. that we use when we're cooking, we throw it in the same trash as we do everything else, and it rots in there and it gets really wet and it becomes anaerobic, and that's where the smell comes from. So when you go to a dump and you think to yourself, oh well, there's a lot of scraps, why do we have to recycle, why do we have to compost, etc., you think, hey, it's composting at the dump. It's not properly composting. It gets really nasty and anaerobic, and it's not good for you. It creates bad bacteria and it's not good for the ground. So what do we do about that? We choose to compost, and we actually compost probably 3 different ways, I want to say. I brought some different kinds of material. I have green grass. This is what we cut from our lawnmower. I have hay. We actually use hay for our rabbits, and sometimes as a covering for muddy spots. And after a while, this composts. It breaks down, and I'd go ahead and add it to our compost bin, our compost pile, and or our worm compost bin. This right here is rabbit manure. If you've never seen rabbit manure, it kind of looks like, well, look, it's already composting. See that dirt material? That's actually the manure. But it actually, when it first comes out, it looks like Cocoa Puffs. And I mean, all it is what they're eating. And their rabbits eat amazing. They eat all greens, hay and grass. You can give them some veggies. This is our kitchen composter. So what we do is when we cut up our veggies, we put it right in our kitchen composter. And if you wanted to come closer, this is what it looks like. Vegetation, coffee grounds, filter, eggshells, old veggies that we didn't get to eat all the way. And once this fills up, we have 2 options that we like to do, and I'll show you that in a second. Our worm composting bin, which is called Vermiculture. What it is worms. And why do we need worms? That's weird, right? Why do we have a bin full of worms? It's great for the garden. Worms are great for composting. Their castings, which is their poop, is amazing for the garden. If you want to look in here, the top layer was dried out grass from just lawn mowing. That's all it is. When you dig under, you start to see vegetation and hay, like I told you about. It's all breaking down in layers. If you dig deeper, they're probably all the way on the bottom, you're going to see worms. We just started our worm casting bin, our vermiculture, and they are doing amazing. All this is a bin, a tote from Walmart. I don't know if you can see holes on the side and then holes on the bottom. The reason we have the holes is because they need airflow, and they also cannot get all like soaking wet. So we want all the drippings to come down into the grass. With our worm castings, once they get established, they're gonna be just like dirt. It's gonna break everything down, and we can move that into our garden. So we don't have to buy artificial fertilizer and just all this expensive stuff that's amazing for the ground, like fish fertilizer, organic stuff, but the worm castings are from our yard. We can even move the worms into the garden, and we can even sell the worms because they're like $15 for a small jar. We could easily just make profit off it, probably sell it a little cheaper. So another way that we compost is piling it up. That's exactly what it looks like. My husband cuts the grass. He puts the grass on the ground in a pile. It breaks down. It turns into dry grass. And I will go ahead and load up and empty out our kitchen composter into this pile. So what really happens is after a while, it all starts to break down. Just like the layer system I told you about with the worms, turns into good compost. You could even take this, put it around your plants in your raised beds or in the ground, and it'll break down that way. Slowly, but it'll break down and it'll nourish your soil. Now for the final way that we compost. Our compost bin. This is actually a compost tumbler bin. The way you close it is it has a nice little latch, and here under my elderberry tree is this latch right here, and that's what makes it tumble when we turn it. As you can see here, we have different kinds of compost. We have brown material like cardboard and brown paper bags and dry grass. Then we have a wet material like the green grass and vegetation, produce. I have here watermelon rinds and apples. This is also some of our extras from under our rabbits. This is their poop and some hay. What this tumbler is going to do, we close it up, we turn it, and it's all going to mix and it'll compost that way. If your compost is failing, it's either too wet and it's creating that anaerobic smell and wetness, and you can know it's failing just by smelling it. If it stinks, this is not supposed to stink. Just like your pile or your worms, they should not stink. If it's stinking, it's too wet. So go ahead and add some brown material like the cardboard, the paper bags, the dry grass, dry hay. Go ahead and add that to it, let it layer, and hopefully it'll get better. If you've already discovered that it's not anaerobic, another problem is that it has too much air and it's too dry. In that case, I would rather it be that than anaerobic. All you have to do, get your garden hose or get your pitcher and put some water in it and let it just sit, and it will get hot and it will do its thing. I'm gonna end this video with some reasons why I suggest you compost. Not only just so your trash cannot smell and maybe your garden can get more nutrients, although those are good reasons. Composting is amazing for the environment and for your produce. If you want big, luscious produce, if you want happy carrots, compost. The dirt will get more aeration, and what that is little air pockets. If you've ever grown carrots or any root vegetables in general, potatoes, turnips, and they're not growing or they're kind of weird ways, it's because you don't have enough aeration in your soil. Your soil's not fluffy enough. There's not enough air pockets. Composting creates that in your dirt. When you add it in and you move it around, that will give you some good produce. Along with the aeration, it also creates a good well-draining soil. That's another thing that will really destroy the roots of your produce or even your flowers. If it's not well draining, it's like a swamp, or it's just too wet. You'll never see good produce growing by a swamp or like a ditch or anything like that, because it holds water and your roots are gonna rot and they're just not gonna grow. Another reason is it's like recycling. Instead of sitting here and filling up your bag, I know we've been very guilty of that. You throw everything in your trash and you're continuously throwing it out, and your trash bin is full. The trash man comes and he's just like, what in the world? This cuts your trash in half. And with it cutting it in half, you just feel good. It makes you feel good. I hope you learned something about vermicompost, the good old-fashioned compost pile, and the compost bin. Remember, brown material like cardboard, paper bags, green material like produce, wet grass. Make sure you have a good mix of both. It's all great to make your compost bin happy and your vegetables happy. I hope you learned something. God bless y'all and have a great day.